The following is a CryptoCurrencyWire audio production. CryptoCurrencyWire is one of 50-plus trusted brands from the Investor Brand Network, IBN. As a multifaceted financial news and publishing company, Investor Brand Network uses its network of more than 5,000 key distribution outlets, as well as other corporate communication tools, to introduce public and private companies to a wide audience of investors, consumers, journalists, and the general public. Our reputation for highly efficient communication strategies is based on the experience and relationships our team has in the space. It is Investor Brand Network's unwavering commitment to connect the investment community with companies that have great potential and a strong dedication to building shareholder value. The following interview may feature a client partner of Investor Brand Network. Investor Brand Network may have been compensated for the production of this interview. Please be sure to read our entire disclaimer for full disclosure.
Thank you all for joining us for our interview with Mark from Upstream. The company is a fully regulated global stock exchange for digital securities. So Mark, to kick things off, tell us more about Upstream.
Well, thank you for having us here today. We're really excited to be a part of the IBN Studio Network. Upstream is as you just mentioned, we are a fully regulated National Securities Exchange, and we're the only exchange in the world that's powered by the blockchain. So we're affiliate member of what's called the World Federation of Exchanges. So the New York, NASDAQ, Tokyo, London, Hong Kong, every major stock exchange in the world is a member, and we're an affiliate member, which means that we adhere to some of the highest standards of investor protections and disclosure and transparency. And what makes us really exciting is that we are powered by the blockchain. So we're an ethereum-based marketplace that allows investors to have an immutable and transparent experience where all transactions are out on the blockchain. So everyone has the opportunity to be able to see it. So there's no game playing or manipulation that happens in more traditional marketplaces.
Awesome. And I'd love to hear more about your personal journey that led you to co-founding the company.
Well, I'm here today as a representative of Upstream. And as I mentioned, Upstream is a national securities exchange. We are the online or digital version of Merge, which is the national exchange for the government of the Seychelles. I myself, though, wear multiple hats. My history is I'm a U.S. investment banker, although this particular interview has none of that, so I need to disclaim that right away. I'm not giving any investment advice and not acting as a registered representative of any U.S. broker-dealer. But my experience from the capital markets is what led to how Upstream came to be and the creation of Upstream, because my experience as a banker allowed me to help create some of the methodology around Title IV of the Jobs Act, where our firm was able to create the methodology and the process to have Reg A trade on a national securities exchange. So I worked with the New York Stock Exchange and created that path to make IPOs look, act, and feel like a traditional IPO and be able to trade on the New York and NASDAQ. So we did the first, in fact, the only two onto the New York and several onto NASDAQ. And that type of process, allowing individual investors to have access to equities and be able to then trade and have liquidity, is what inspired me to help create Upstream, where I wanted to give issuers the opportunity that had raised capital from investors around the world, utilizing either the U.S. rules related to Jobs Act, specifically Title III, which is Regulation CF, which is crowdfunding, or issuers that were raising capital in Europe under the European standards, to be able to have a marketplace in order to facilitate secondary trading. Because one of the things about all of these type of assets is that investors now have the opportunity to buy them, but in a crowdfunded situation, they really don't have the opportunity to sell it. So you're going to drink the beer, eat the bread. At some point, you're going to say, I want my money back. But there's no real live secondary marketplace that exists anywhere in the world that allows this to happen. We at Upstream now are able to facilitate that, because issuers can apply to list on our marketplace and then have the ability to sell. But this isn't just crowdfunded securities. What we've done is we've opened it up to all securities, any security that has been issued on a regulated marketplace that adheres to disclosure standards in their local jurisdiction, whether it's the SEC in the US or alternative reporting status on the OTC, or CEDAR in in Canada, or any of the European disclosures around Euronext. these companies can now list in our market and have a dual listing capability where they still maintain their primary listing venue in the marketplace that they originally went public in. But now it gives the investors the opportunity from an international perspective to be able to access these equities and be able to trade with them. Where we here in the US find it very simple to be able to buy and sell equities, outside the US, it's very difficult for a European or international investor to be able to buy a US equity. With Upstream, they can now open an account, go through a robust and simple KYC process, and allow them to use dollars, credit cards, PayPal, and also cryptocurrency in the form of USDC stablecoin. So we've created the ability for a global investor to use alternative asset classes now to be able to come in and be able to buy traditional asset classes like US equities. It's truly revolutionary.
For sure. Yeah, it's incredible. I'm very excited to see this happening. You recently announced a dual listing with a NASDAQ listed client. Of course, you do other exchanges than just NASDAQ, but what are the advantages for a company like them?
Well, that was actually the first, and now since that announcement, we've had 3 issuers, and we currently have over 15 that are in the various processes of application. But really what the most exciting aspect is traditional equities in the US are available to US investors, some international investors that know how to navigate and be able to open accounts and purchase those securities. But they're also done in a more traditional manner. Securities in the US trade on a T2 settlement. So investors come in and they're able to purchase it, and then the transaction settles in 2 days. On the blockchain, transactions settle immediately. So it's a T0 instantaneous settlement. So what's unique about Upstream and why companies are now looking to dual list on us is that it now allows the US company to be able to now open their securities to a global audience. And as I mentioned, we allow investors to use not only cash or fiat, but also cryptocurrency in the form of a USDC stablecoin. And why we use USDC is it's pegged to the dollar, so it's stable. So a dollar is a dollar. We get the question all the time, why won't we accept Bitcoin or Ethereum? The volatility of those markets are so, I guess the word is volatile on an hourly or minute basis. But with a stable coin, it's standard. So investors can convert alternative asset classes like Bitcoin and Ethereum into USDC and buy it. So to an issuer listing in our market, they're now opening their securities to a global audience that can trade 20 hours a day, because our market is open to a 20-hour day period, not from 9:30 to 4 like the US. And it allows the investors who have been dabbling in alternative asset classes to then move their investment theory into more traditional asset classes like US equities. But the real exciting aspect of it is that when you deal on the blockchain and you deal on Upstream, it's transparent. So there is no market makers. There's no what we call inventory positions where a market maker or somebody will take a principal position and then retail it back out. We're a best bid, best offer marketplace where investors put in bids and offers based upon their own decisions, and that order book is transparent. So it's what we call agency business. And what that means is that there's no layering, spoofing, market manipulation, and most importantly, there's no hypothecation or lending or borrowing. And what that means in plain English is there's no short selling. So if you own a position, you can only long position on our marketplace. So all the types of activities that we see in other markets where investors take positions and suddenly you see algo trading or other types of activities, when you scratch your head and say, what's going on? Those type of activities can't occur here. And the other thing is that we are not in an anonymous marketplace. The blockchain is immutable and transparent. So every transaction you can see on Etherscan. So it levels the field of information and allows everybody equal access. Investors that come into our market still get access to all the disclosure related to the US equities. So the 34 Act filings that these companies are doing on the NASDAQ, that information is conveyed directly to our investors. And the other reason issuers want to invest in our market is that they can do follow-on offerings or IPOs of subsidiaries, offering them to a global community that can come in and do a straight IPO and be able to buy those shares. And that type of disclosure, those IPOs that trade in our marketplace have the advantage of our regulatory requirements are very similar in terms of disclosure to US and other marketplaces. But because it's blockchain based, when you have proxies, or shareholder actions that need votes, you no longer have to go through the old antiquated process of doing a mailing to all shareholders. In our marketplace, it's available immediately directly on the app. So shareholder actions can be voted upon instantaneously, where investors can come in, make an informed decision, and then make that vote and memorialize it to the blockchain. So it saves issuers quite a bit of money. And that's for future offerings that they do in our market.
Right. That's just a really incredible list of advantages. How fast is the process to onboard new issuers?
So the process itself is just like listing on any other exchange. We require an application. We run background checks. There's both qualitative and quantitative requirements. So while you might meet the quantitative, you might not meet the qualitative. We really don't work with early stage companies that have promising technology, but a long way to go. Our ideal client is something that's already listed. That's either a NASDAQ, NYSE, OTC, BV, or QX disclosing company. So they have filings with the SEC or alternative requirements with the OTC marketplace, where we'll adopt those filings into our application process. We go through a series of reviews and ensure that the issuer complies with our disclosure requirements on Upstream and that comply with our rules and regulations. So that whole process takes 3 to 4 weeks. And at that time, what's really exciting is that we have a digital bell ringing. So all shareholders that participated in the company, all prospective shareholders and all future shareholders have an opportunity on the bell ringing to get a commemorative NFT. Now, these have no economic value and they're purely just a utility, but it's exciting because the issuer can now share with all of their investors this exciting new Web3 type process, which is an NFT. And the NFTs on our marketplace are true NFTs, they're Web3. So it allows that particular shareholder, investor, or fan to be able to share it among all their peers, which creates additional visibility for the issuer and allows that issuer then to expand its investor base, because we hope that all the investors will share with everybody, I'm a part of this company and I'm a part of the future of Wall Street.
Right. So what other things are happening right now?
So Upstream is not just working on dual listings. We actually do IPOs ourselves. So we are an exchange. We're not a broker dealer. We don't raise capital, but we work with intermediaries and broker dealers around the world that are going to be listing their products on our marketplace. So we do equities, we do debt, we do preferred stocks, we do ETFs, SPACs, and other types of unique derivative instruments that are available to investors globally. Our marketplace, as I mentioned, is designed on the blockchain. So all investors come in on a T0 instantaneous settlement. So like any other traditional IPO here in the US, an investor would receive a prospectus, be able to review that prospectus, make an informed decision, and then come in and place an offer or a bid to buy that stock. On closing, the transaction closes instantaneously and the investor receives their shares and are able to trade. So this works for primary IPOs and secondaries. But the term that people like to use is whether it's a security token offering. We don't like to use the word IEO, which is an initial exchange offering, or ICO. To us, those are all just negative terms. What we're offering is digital securities. It's equity ownership or a debt instrument tied directly to an issuer. So it's a truly compliant marketplace that adheres to the highest levels. Our KYC standards, we run against 60 international databases. We allow investors to come in as long as they're whitelisted. If they're in any area that we find to be questionable, they're not going to be able to come into our marketplace. You can't play any games. We use liveness detection. We also have technology that will drop a pin or a geofence directly into your local area. So if you were attempting to use a VPN or something else, we know where you are. And we do this for your own protection as well as the protection of all investors that are in our marketplace. The other thing that we offer is that we have what's called an asset held away model. So when you open an account at Upstream, you're not only just opening an account on Upstream, but you're also opening a segregated bank account where your capital is held. So our investors actually open a US bank account through our intermediary that allows segregated funds. So unlike what we've seen with Celsius and Voyager and some of the other crypto markets that have gone into bankruptcy and investors suddenly found that their assets were seized, where it was somewhat of a misrepresentation when they said they had FDIC insurance, we actually offer segregated FDIC insurance to each individual investor. So if something was to happen to us, all investors have direct access to their money directly through the bank. So there's no chance of their funds being seized by a bankruptcy court and having to go through that process. And while that might not seem very important, we were sounding the alarm early on, and now it's become a reality with some of the other bankruptcies that are going on. The other thing is that because we're an asset held away model, when you open an account on our marketplace, we actually create a wallet for you. So this is designed for the 99% of the world that have no understanding of blockchain or cryptocurrency or MetaMask or all these other terms that are used within the blockchain or crypto world. I want to stress we are not a crypto exchange. We are a securities exchange powered by the blockchain. So when investors open that account, their securities are actually deposited directly into their wallet. So that wallet is biometrically protected, where the investor and only the investor has the keys to it. So the trades are done using an eye scan or using a fingerprint directly on the phone. So we get the question all the time, why don't you have a web-based market or a browser-based market? And the reason is the security features aren't there. And we've all heard about what happens with hacking. So what's unique is if you were to be hacked or lose your phone or it falls into the water, whatever it might be, we can actually replace the security, because the crutch of our entire marketplace is we're not using technology to replace regulation. We use technology to enhance it. So we utilize registered transfer agents, whether it's an SEC registered transfer agent in the US or a qualified registrar in Europe, but they're the gatekeeper and they're the transaction piece that allows investors to be able to move positions directly out of DTC or CD&Co here in the US or in Euroclear in Europe and enter our marketplace where we convert traditional equities into tokenized common stock and allow that investor to have a safe environment to transact. And when the investor wants to remove their position, they're welcome to come into our market, hit withdrawal. It goes back to the transfer agent as the gatekeeper. And from there, it will go back into its traditional marketplace.
Very nice. So what are some of the biggest things your team accomplished in 2022?
I think the most exciting aspect is we're the only stock exchange in the world powered by the blockchain. We've seen some interesting statements from the SEC here in the US where they have sounded a statement and made statements where they believe that a majority of the tokens that are out in the world are securities. We agree with most of that statements, that if securities come under the or token securities, whatever you want to call it, touch or come under the Howey test, there's no question it's a security. We're here to be able to allow those issuers to trade in our market in a compliant manner because we are a securities exchange. Some of the other things that have happened, we're also very active in the NFT marketplace. So Upstream is available for international investors for securities today, but Upstream is available to Americans to transact in NFTs. The NFTs in our marketplace are not securities. We do deal with NFTs that are securities, but those are not available to Americans, only international investors at this current time. But the NFTs for the Americans that we work with are all utility-based. So we designed our marketplace, as I mentioned, for the 99% of the world that have no understanding of cryptocurrency. We work with large brands and institutions and celebrities and entertainers. Some of our brand ambassadors are Dominique Wilkins, Edrin James, Penny Hardaway, Antrell Roll, and many others. We work with universities where we've created programs where kids that are now part of the NCAA, there's something called the name, image, and likeness rule that allows these young athletes to be able to monetize them. So whether you're the kid on the chess team or you're a D1 quarterback, it doesn't matter. We're giving you the same opportunity to be able to monetize your name, image, and likeness through the use of the NFTs that allow fans to be able to connect directly with you. So we work with a lot of professional sports. We work with NBA players and this is something really fun, where an NBA player, most of them are in their early 20s and they all love to play video games. The NFTs that we offer allow a child or a fan to be able to go on, buy an NFT that will allow them to play an hour or two of video games with their favorite athletes side by side. So we work with casinos. We work with other types of venues. We have membership programs. Our NFT strategy also allows for what we call redeemable NFTs. So we can actually take an NFT and have it redeemable redeemable for physical merchandise. So whether it's a trading card, a shoe, a record, we signed a deal with Rough Nation Entertainment where they're taking traditional vinyl, creating NFTs that allow those NFTs to be traded and then eventually redeemed for physical merchandise. So none of these fall into the category of securities, but if and when the SEC determines that they are securities and that the marketplaces need to either register as a broker dealer or an exchange, we've got that covered as a stock exchange. So that was a pretty exciting aspect of what happened for us in 2022. And we're excited at what's going to happen in 2023. And the last thing I would say is a lot of people in the marketplace, a lot of the DeFi, the Web3, they're all at the position very upset that regulation is coming. And the statement is regulation has always been here. If you follow the rules and you read the acts, it's easy to comply and to work within the framework. And it's something not to be afraid of, but it's rather something to be embraced. When you deal with retail investors, it's important to have investor protections. We saw this with the pump and dumps of some of these ICOs, and we saw it with some of the nonsense that goes on with NFTs. So I truly believe that the future of Wall Street and the future of capital formation is the blockchain because of the security that it offers. But the reality is we're not changing the way Wall Street thinks or the marketplace thinks anytime soon. So we need to work within it and work slowly to show that there's a viable option where you can have traditional trading in the New York and Nasdaq and then modern trading on Upstream.
This is all tremendously exciting, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. And there's definitely a lot to be excited about in years to come. I can't wait to get this out to our subscribers.
Well, thank you for having me. And we are accepting applications. So I know a lot of your subscribers are issuers. So, or if a shareholder wants to refer an issuer over to us, we'd love to have you. And we welcome you to learn more. You can go to upstream.exchange, or you can go to any of the app stores and download the app. It's simple. And it's a process that will allow you to access, review, and be able to see the types of securities and NFTs in our marketplace. So we welcome you to be part of our team.
Sounds great. Have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you.
This audio interview is an original broadcast provided by CryptoCurrencyWire. CryptoCurrencyWire, CCW, is a CryptoWire news and content distribution syndicate that provides access to a syndicate of wire services via InvestorWire to reach all target markets, industries, and demographics in the most effective manner possible. CryptoCurrencyWire is another brand under the Investor Brand Network. Investor Brand Network may receive payments for corporate communication relations, as well as various press releases and social media solutions provided to its clients. You should assume that officers and directors of Investor Brand Network or financial analysts mentioned hold a position in and may intend to trade the securities for their own accounts. This interview is not an offer or recommendation to buy or sell securities. Information in this broadcast is presented solely for informative purposes and is not intended to be, or should it be construed, as investment advice. As in all investments, investment in the featured company carries an investment risk. Listeners should review the company thoroughly with the registered investment advisor or registered stockbroker. This audio interview by Investor Brand Network is not purport to be a complete study of the featured company or other companies mentioned. Information used and statements of fact have been obtained from featured company and other sources, but not verified nor guaranteed by Investor Brand Network as to completeness and accuracy. Such information is subject to change without notice. Please see our full disclaimers and disclosures at investorbrandnetwork.com.